Hello my bunny besties. If you are new here, my name is Bunby. Welcome, and for anyone who is returning, hi, how are you? It is so nice to see you again, especially in front of this lovely autumn backdrop that we have here on screen, because today's video is a very special one. It's been long in the making. I'm very excited to share it with you because we are going to be going through and planning our newest autumn-themed Animal Crossing island. As you all know, autumn is my favorite time in game, and I am just always so inspired to build in the fall, so I'm ready to dive in. I'm done with the summertime. I'm done with the heat. I do not subscribe to the sunlight anymore. I would like overcast. I would like windy and changing leaves and pumpkin spice and corduroy and turtlenecks and just all the cozy vibes. I want to snuggle up in a blanket. I don't want to be sweating anymore, please. I'm begging you. I just want it to be fall. So I am officially beginning my summerween phase, my summerween era, and we're going to be diving into this year's autumn themed island. I know it's a little bit early, but hey, it's never too early for Halloween. So I'm very excited for today's video. We're going to be working on the planning for this newest island. So I'm going to be revealing the name. We're going to go through and look at what has inspired this island, as well as the very interesting villager lineup that I've put together. I feel like it's going to be very divisive. I decided to try and challenge myself a little bit this year with this island, so please stick with me. And we're also going to go through the build ideas that I've come up with, and last but certainly not least, we're just going to go through and make a little aesthetically pleasing vision board so we can really pull it all together, and that way I can try and showcase to you guys exactly the vibe that I'm going to try and bring across in this island. But of course, let's go ahead and jump on over to Canva. So the two names that I thought of for the island are Ciderbrook and Oak Hollow, and I went through over on my Instagram at CozyBunby and put up a poll on my story, as well as here on the YouTube community tab, to really try and pull a wide range of votes for these names. And for the longest time it was neck and neck, 50-50 on both of them. People really seemed to like either option, but in the end Oak Hollow seems to be the one that has won out, which I'm pretty excited for. I love both of these names, so I am happy either way. So without further ado, allow me to formally introduce you to the island of Oak Hollow. I am ready for fall. I love the fall season so much. It's my favorite time in Animal Crossing and in real life, and so I thought, you know, what a better time to start diving into autumn than right now. This island in particular is one that I have been playing around with the idea of doing for such a long time, and I am just so excited to get into it. As you can see here, we have kind of the foundational groundwork, inspiration, and overall vibe check for the island, which we can go through and do a little overview of really quickly. Now, the vibe of this island is very much late 80s, early 90s, early 2000s, kind of just like nostalgia core, very much the encompassing of probably all of our childhoods, and I really want to capture that kind of like childlike wonder of Halloween that we all felt as kids. That's kind of the overall concept for this entire island. I really wanted to play around with classic Americana, classic suburbia, and really focus on small town, residential, and make it a very, I guess, kid-friendly island. I'm not really sure how else to explain it. This island is technically written down as kidcore Halloween, but I think that I'm viewing it in probably a different way than others might, because this island isn't necessarily kidcore in the sense of bright colors, candy, you know, toys and things like that. It's more so kidcore in the sense of this is what Halloween should look like through the eyes of a child. I'm not really sure how else to explain it, but I really like the idea of those types of movies. As you can see here, I have Monster House as part of the media inspiration, but I really like the, you know, ragtag misfit band of kids coming together to have some Halloween hijinks. I think that that's like such a fun idea and just feels like very near and dear to what Halloween felt like as a child. I think for a lot of us, Halloween was the first time as kids that we got that little bit of freedom away from home. We were able to go out and go trick-or-treating on our own and hang out with our friends, and I just feel like it's kind of, I don't know, a really quintessential part of growing up, I feel like, and I just really wanted to capture that feeling. I also, of course, as you can see, have written down here Northeast autumn vibes. I know that's very similar to the island that we had last year, Pottsfield. For anyone who hasn't seen it, that was our island that we worked on last autumn. It is an over the garden wall inspired island, and it definitely has those same Northeast vibes. It's just that when I think of autumn, I think of the bright orange leaves. I think of those types of towns that are definitely established, a bit older, you know, in places like Connecticut and Massachusetts and things like that, where you can really get these beautiful landscapes. That's kind of what I'm trying to focus on here, there's just that same vibe of maple trees, oak trees turning this beautiful shade of, you know, burgundy and gold, and then you have pumpkins everywhere, and there's actually sweater weather unlike places like where I live, which is Florida, where I have no season change, sadly. That I think is probably the thing that I'm the most sad about whenever autumn comes around, is that everyone gets to experience beautiful changing leaves, and I'm surrounded by palm trees and sand, and there's no changing leaves. It's very sad, but I mean, hey, I'll still get my pumpkin spice latte and we'll move on. But yeah, that's like kind of the overall vibe that I'm trying to go for with this island. Once again, as you can see here, I have some media inspiration kind of spread out across the page, and I tried to go through and pick some different pieces of media that we all probably enjoyed at some point as kids. As you can see here, front and center, I have Monster House as the first thing on our little list here of inspiration. I love Monster House so much. This is a movie that I've been wanting to base an island off of for the longest time because I love the vibes. I haven't seen the movie in forever. I plan on doing a rewatch of a lot of these to kind of like help get me into the mood for this island and make sure that I can find some cute little Easter eggs that I can grab here and there, but Monster House is one that's definitely on my list. I just love the vibe. I love the characters. I love the concept, and I'm definitely pulling a lot of just different themes from this movie in particular. And of course, with this being a Halloween autumn themed island, I had to give some honorable mentions to the movies Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. These are just classic. You can't go wrong with them. When you think of Halloween, these are the two movies that you think of. So I had to include them. I feel like they were just such a big staple for a lot of us growing up when it came to just getting in the mood for Halloween. But alongside them, I also have to mention Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. Now, Goosebumps was one of my favorite shows growing up. I loved reading the books as a kid. I loved watching the shows and the different adaptations, and it scared me so bad growing up. I thought it would be fun to kind of like pull on the themes from these shows as well, just, you know, almost like gathering around a campfire telling spooky stories. Like, I feel like R.L. Stine really made Halloween accessible to kids and created the horror genre for children that was kind of a little less gratuitous than horror has been for the most part for many years. And so I love that, and I just had to, you know, of course, mention Goosebumps. And of course, I have to mention Charlie Brown. It's the Great Pumpkin. This is just such a classic. I think Charlie Brown is technically more 70s than it is 80s or 90s, but at the same time, I mean, who didn't grow up with Charlie Brown, you know? It's just like, it's so nostalgic looking at this little still of this Halloween party, and I feel like it really fits in with that vibe of, you know, misfit kids come together to have some Halloween hijinks. I love the vibes of Charlie Brown. It's just so nostalgic, so cozy. So this is definitely the overall vibe for Oak Hollow that I'm really gonna try and capture. Now that we have the vibe kind of figured out and established, it's time to move on to our villager lineups. I have two things to choose from, and I'm just gonna preface that I need you to trust the process. I need you to set aside your prejudices and just trust the choices that I have made, because there's a reason, there's a plan. There's a plan for everything, you know what I mean? So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to villager lineup number 1. Once again, I need you to just trust me on this one, besties. Please, I am begging you on my hands and knees to trust the process. Now for the first villager lineup, for our male villagers, you can see I grabbed Rudy, Biscuit, Alfonso, Admiral, and Limburg. This little guy, this poor little guy, I had to bring him onto the island. I just feel like he's been abandoned by so many people in this community. He finally deserves his chance to shine on an island. So he is my ugly pick for this island. Some of you might argue that Hazel kind of fits into that ugly category as well. I do not subscribe to the Hazel hatred that she gets. I'm sorry, she is so freaking cute. I love her bangs. I love her unibrow. She is absolutely adorable, so she will definitely be staying on the island. But yeah, we have Rudy, Biscuit, Alfonso, Admiral, and Limburg as our little male selection. I decided to go through and try to bring in some pops of green that might be a little bit questionable because obviously it's an autumn island, so usually people go for, you know, the reds, the oranges, the browns, the yellows. But I feel like I don't know, I feel like I needed a pop of something different. Obviously I have some blues going on here with some of the villager ears and eyelids and things, but Biscuit was honestly the big catalyst for the pops of green because I've never had him on an island before, and I thought that he fit really well well into this theme. So I was like, okay, how the heck am I gonna tie in his little ears that he has? So I decided to grab some green villagers. I have obviously Admiral and 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 as the big kind of like pops of green that we have going on here. But of course, as for the female villagers that we have, Fauna, I mean, we had to include some cuties in here to kind of balance out the scales. I also have Maddie, Pearl, of course Hazel, and 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎. I really like this lineup. I think the only thing that I have an issue with this lineup is I feel like Maddie doesn't necessarily fit. She seems a little bit more springtime, if that makes sense. I really don't know how else to explain it, but I am just struggling to find a peppy villager to fit on this island. There's one that I really wanted to include, but I had a feeling she would be a little too out there, even more out there than 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎. I really wanted to include 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎. I think she's so cute and I feel like she would fit really well in the lineup, but I'm just worried that she might be too ugly for some people. I think she's really cute. I feel like she would own a little bakery or like a diner or something. I don't know. So I might keep her on this list. I'm not entirely sure. She is a peppy villager. There isn't really that many that I can choose from that don't kind of like put a wrench in the plans for some future islands, because I'm trying not to reuse villagers. I want to make sure that I can kind of switch things up a little bit. But this is lineup A. And lineup B is here. So there's a couple of villagers that are present from the previous lineup because I kind of just knew I wanted to have them on the island. I really like Admiral and 𝒷𝓃𝓃𝓎 because they kind of have this old man vibe to them. And I like to have villagers that look like they're different ages because I feel like it can just really help with like storytelling, personality creation, and all of these little fun aspects. So they are the same along with Biscuit. I just love Biscuit so much. Once again, I've never had him on an island and I don't know when I will in the future, so I had to include him in this lineup still. But this time we have Anchovy and Leopold as the newbies, and then in the female side of things, Fauna and 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 have stayed the same, but instead this time I added Kat, Frida, and Bee. Once again, Frida is probably a choice where you guys are going, what the heck, she looks like a burger and fries, which she does, and I love that for her. Burgers and fries are some of my favorite foods, so like, you know, she's got points in my book. But I love Anchovy. I feel like he kind of fits into that whole like misfits vibe that I'm trying to go for, of little villagers that look like they could be just a little ragtag group of friends. And so Anchovy kind of has just this like homeschooled kid look, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's just look at this little guy. There's not a single thought behind these eyes. Mans is scared for his life, and I love that for him. But I think that he's really cute. Leopold, of course, is another new one, and I like the green that he has, but I feel like he's just a bit too pale. Like the actual color of his body, the beige color, I feel like doesn't really come through in any of the other villagers, and I'm pretty keen on color theory when it comes to deciding my villagers, so I'm not entirely sure about that. But for the girls, once again, Bee, I think Bee is so cute. I've never had her on an island, and I love her little design. She looks just like she would be such a good friend. Like, she's just a girl, and I love that for her. And I feel like she would, I don't know, like own a record store or something. Like maybe she's like kind of like a retro girl who's really into the 70s and vinyls and stuff like that. But then of course, once again, there's Frida. I think she's so cute. I just love her little smile. She looks so silly. But I feel like she's also very saturated compared to everyone else. I feel like she stands out a little bit too much with the like very saturated reds and yellows, so I'm not entirely sold. And then for Kat, I have never had Kat on an island either, and she's not a villager I've ever gravitated towards, but she kind of fills that like scoundrel vibe. Like she looks like that's the villager that gets into trouble. Like she's convincing the little misfit kids to go to the wrong side of the tracks or something like that. I don't know. And I like her design. So these are the villagers. I'm very torn because I like both of them. Alrighty, so I went through and did some rearranging to the villager lineup, and I think that this is the one that I'm going to settle on. I think it's going to be really cute once we actually get everyone on the island and get everyone settled into their little areas. I feel like this is a good kind of well-rounded lineup that includes some younger looking villagers and some older looking villagers. But going through, we have Rudy as our jock villager, we have Biscuit as our lazy, Leopold as our smug villager, 𝒷𝓃𝓃𝓎 and Admiral as our two crankies, and then for our female villagers we have Fauna as our normal, 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 and Pearl as our snooties, Anicotti as our Peppy, and Hazel as our sisterly villager. But now that we have gone through and chosen our villagers, I would love to know what you think about my picks for this island. And we're gonna move down to our build ideas. Now there's a lot of builds on this list, and of course there's only so much room on the island, so I don't expect to include absolutely everything here. This is more so just like throwing spaghetti at the wall. I'm trying to see what sticks, and this is a great thing to do for if you're someone who struggles with, you know, trying to figure out where to move on to next when you're building an island. I feel like going through and just kind of like putting down a bunch of ideas that interest you or concepts that you found inspiring off of Pinterest or somebody else's island is a great way to kind of help give yourself a roadmap and a pathway to follow when planning your actual island and moving on to different builds. So once again, I don't plan on including everything in this list because I feel like we're gonna run out of room really quickly, but just a quick rundown of the list. You can see here that I have some residential neighborhoods. Of course, this is a suburban island, so I plan on there being lots of little cute neighborhoods and roadways with houses and everything. I thought it could be really cute to include a record store. Some of these builds are kind of more so for an actual villager home and what to turn those homes into, so I think a record store could be really cute for a villager's home, as well as a pizza shop. I've never made a pizza shop before, but I mean, I feel like there's plenty of items that you could use to create one, and I feel like nothing screams Halloween time than, you know, hanging out, getting a pizza, going and watching a scary movie, so I feel like that could be a really fun vibe. Along with it is a college and football field. I have never ever done a build like this, but I feel like it could be really fun. Here in the United States, football gets pretty big whenever fall rolls around, and I think that there's usually like some football game that gets played on Thanksgiving. I don't know why everyone's busy like eating turkey and stuff, so I don't know why you'd want to also watch football, but I'm not huge into sports, me personally, but I just like the vibe of including maybe a little university / football field area, who knows. And then right below it we have a drive-in movie theater. Now I've always wanted to do a classic drive-in theater on an island, but I've just never been able to quite capture it right, so I'm hoping that I can redeem that here on Oak Hollow. Down below, I love the idea of a teen forest hangout. I did something similar on Pottsfield on the coastline, but I think it could be really fun to actually put this in the woods, maybe put some abandoned cars or something out there, a bonfire, and have it just, you know, be a spot where maybe the teens go to have their own Halloween party away from all the adults. And right below, we have plenty of autumn picnics. I just love the idea of just, you know, throwing a blanket down, slapping an apple pie on the ground, and just going to town. I think that could be really fun for the island, and this is more so just like filler areas, just reminding myself that picnics are quintessential to any Animal Crossing island. And below that, of course, it wouldn't be an autumn island if it didn't include a pumpkin patch, and I have ideas for this pumpkin patch that will make it different from last year's pumpkin patch that we did on Pottsfield, but I'm very excited because I love pumpkin patches so much. I think that they're so cute, especially with the pumpkins that we have in game. But below that, I have a bus stop and underground subway. I've seen so many people use terraforming to create underground subway entrances, and I've always wanted to try that on an island, and I feel like it could be really cute for this one. I'm not entirely sure though, because an underground subway feels like it belongs in a bigger city, and this is supposed to be a bit more small town suburb, so I'm not super sure, but bus stop I feel like could for sure work. Now once again, this might be a little bit too city core, but a highway could be really fun. I've seen so many cool highway builds and terraforming that I really want to try, so if I'm not able to do some of this on this island, I have another one coming up very soon that these types of builds would be perfect on. Now right below we have a mechanic shop. I feel like for one of our older villagers, having them be a mechanic could be really fun. Below that I have a frat house. Now this might be an interesting choice, but I did see some stuff on Pinterest that really inspired me, and I feel like it would go hand in hand with the college / football field, as well as going hand in hand with Leopold. I don't know about you guys, but Leopold kind of gives me the chill guy at a college, and so I feel like he would maybe run a frat of some kind, a fraternity, so I don't know, I feel like that could be a fun thing to include. Down below I have the idea of an abandoned bell tower. I know we did something similar on Bleakmore with our abandoned church, but I just really like the idea of a classic bell tower. I feel like that could be something that you would find in any kind of like northeastern American town. I'm not sure how I'll pull it off, but I just thought it could be a fun vibe. Down below I have a coastline train. There is a picture that I saw on Pinterest of an old rusted train using the cutout design, and I just thought that that was such a fun way to use up the beaches. It's really hard to decorate them, so trying to figure out different builds for the beaches is always so important. Moving down below, we have our retro diner build idea. I haven't ever really seen a diner being done in game, but we do have all those diner items, so I feel like it could really come together pretty cute. It's just those items are so saturated, so I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to pull it off, but the idea of a retro diner sounds really fun. Now for our last three builds, I have an autumn florist shop. Of course, florist shops are pretty big on cottagecore islands, springcore islands, but I feel like they're never really done on autumn islands, and we do have some orange flowers in game, so I thought that this could be really fun to try and fit here on Oak Hollow. Down below, I have a haunted house, because of course this is going to be somewhat of a Halloween island. Not entirely Halloween, but enough Halloween to where a haunted house would definitely fit. And then last but certainly not least is just a good old Halloween party. Maybe, you know, decorating the inside of somebody's house to look like a Halloween party, that could be really fun. But these are the list of build ideas that I have for the island itself. And then last but not least, right here, the final page is totally blank, and that's because I'm going to go through and turn this into kind of a cute little mood board, vision board. So I'm going to let you sit back, relax, and just put some nice lo-fi on while I go through and speed decorate this page. Alrighty, my bunny besties, I hope that you all enjoyed coming along and planning 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 with me. I hope that I really brought all of the nice autumn vibes for you guys and got you ready for this season. I'm seriously so excited and cannot wait to dive in. I will be featuring this island over on my Twitch. You can find me at 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓏 on Twitch, where I will be streaming the first initial sequence of getting the island started, so getting us to 3 stars. It'll actually be my first stream ever, so it would really mean the world to me if you could come join and hang out and at least just, you know, come and stop by and say hello. I cannot wait to get started, so do stay tuned for all of that coming very soon. But of course, if this is your first time ever tuning into the channel, I would love to have you subscribe so that way you can join our cozy community and be a part of the 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓏 building process. And alongside that, please remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, as well as comment. Let me know what you're most excited for. Let me know what you think of the name, the villagers that I have chosen. Feel free to put me on blast in the comments over the choices that I have made in today's video. But without further ado, I will see you all in the next video.